Hey everybody, happy Easter weekend. Sort of a time to kind of like reflect on our little knife hobby here. I brought these two knives out more. This is gonna be more of like a discussion video rather than one that's actually on knives because you guys can go anywhere, not only on my channel, but other people's channels and take a look at these two knives that are sitting here on this table right now. Um, why I brought these two knives out is they kind of represent a uh, a mark in knife history, I guess. These two knives here. This one is the large Sebenza 21 with bog oak inlays. Chris Reeve design, obviously. And this other knife here is the Spyderco Slysz Bowie. I don't know of any other two knives in the production world that have made more, I don't want to use the word stink, but have made more of an impact in the knife world than these two knives here. I mean, you can go anywhere on YouTube and look up these two knives, and they just get talked about over and over and over again. If I had to compare these knives in the knife world to a mark in history, it would be kind of like Elvis and the Beatles to music. That's what these two knives kind of represent. Especially this one. This one was actually hyped up quite a bit by Nick Shabazz, who's probably one of the only few legit knife people online still talking about knives. All my favorite guys have left. Dr. Funky's gone now. Even Epic Snuggle Bunny's kind of slowed down. He's still around, but he's kind of not putting out as many videos as he used to, but he was pretty much considered another authority figure in the world of knives. Myself, I am just a fan of knives who likes to do videos. So, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do videos. So I kind of represent all of you guys out there. And whenever I went on YouTube, right around 4 or 5 years ago, it was always one of these two knives that something was being compared to. And you kind of wonder, where are knives going now? Because to be quite honest with you, about 7 or 8 years ago, the world of custom knives, I came in at right around the height of that, when it was all just beginning. In other words, I had learned all I could learn from the production world and decided to go ahead and jump into custom knives. Right after leaving the production world, I went right into custom knives immediately because I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn a little bit more. But as I go back and reflect on my knife hobby, these two knives really did have a lot of impact on what would happen to me in the future with my hobby. I don't know about any of you guys, but for me, these two knives represented a lot as far as what I look for in quality and as far as what's possible, what could be done with knives in general, whether we're talking about production knives, whether we're talking about mid-techs, whether we're talking about customs. These two knives are like at the center of all that because, a lot of us will never be able to afford, knives. Like a lot of us will never be able to afford $700, $800, $1,000 knives. It's just not going to happen. But it's kind of nice to know that, somewhere down the line we can get pretty close to that feeling with a knife like the Spyderco Slysz Bowie and a knife like the Sebenza 21, or in this case, the large 21. Just to erase a little confusion, a lot of people would compare the Spyderco Slysz Bowie to the Sebenza 21, which is what I have here. But it kind of annoys me because the Sebenza 21 is a really small knife. So I thought it would be a lot better to just make it up against the large Sebenza 21, since they're almost close in size. This is a 3.4-inch blade. This is a 3.6-inch blade. They're roughly right around the same size, and the ergonomics are much better on the 21 than they are on the large 21 than they are on the small. I'm not saying I don't like my small Sebenza. I do love it. It's just, The bigger one is so much nicer in the hand, and you can do a lot more with it. So on with the video. What was it about the Spyderco Slysz Bowie that got everybody so riled up about the production world? I'll never know, but I know for a fact that Nick Shabazz had a big, huge hand in it. As soon as the knife appeared on his video, everybody just went nuts and decided that this was now the holy grail of production knives based on, you know, his input. But when I say that, I'm saying that as someone like myself who was a fan of knives back then and considered Nick Shabazz as an authority figure. But fortunately or unfortunately, you know, that's what happened. I mean, the Spyderco Slysz Bowie went on and became such an iconic knife for a lot of us that, you know, it became something that a lot of us had to have, knowing that we would never get anywhere near a a custom knife. And for those of us that were looking to jump into custom knives, none of us would even be there unless we've actually gotten our hands on one of these, which is the Sebenza 21. I think my whole point of this video is to kind of understand, what are we going to do now? You know what I mean? Is there going to be another knife in the future that will have an impact as both of these? And in my opinion, I don't believe so. And I'll tell you why. I don't think knives are going to ever be seen as, I don't know how to explain this, but, you know, a decade ago, before customs came into our lives, we were looking more towards the production knife companies to create new and exciting knives for us to go gaga over. Now, you know, everybody's getting into knives now, and it's almost like daily. People are, if you go on Instagram, there's like new knife makers out there now that are popping up all over the place, and they're doing really good work. And sorry to have left you, but I mean, we're now becoming a society of people that can, you know, not only are we now a society that are just buying knives, we're now a society that's actually getting into making knives. Now, this knife here was made by a friend of mine. I did a video on this one in South Africa. He's 60 years old. He made this knife. It's called the Leopard. I picked it up from him for like $180. He's not a professional knife maker by any means, but this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that, is there going to be a point where, you know, we're going to see more and more people make knives, more and more people, you know, coming out and kind of overtaking the production world? You know what I'm saying? I mean, because 9 years ago, this was like something that everybody went insane over. And we were still at the very height of getting excited over what large companies like Spyderco and Kershaw and Zero Tolerance and CRKT were putting out. Now you go on Instagram, just go on Instagram, and you'll see all kinds of cool knives that are coming out. And you can almost bet that the quality doesn't suck, because this one was made by an amateur knife maker who's just trying to get into the profession. And this thing to me looks fantastic. I mean, the action's really nice. It's really great. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. And this guy, I mean, he's learning, but yet what I have in my hand, not that I'm saying I can compare it to these knives here, but I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, eventually, we're going to get to a point where we're going to stop being a society that collects knives and just, I don't know, makes them now. But, you know, then again, you also have to think to yourself, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten this far in the knife world without companies like this showing us what's good quality. You know what I mean? Because then someone like this guy, Robert Littard, wouldn't be able to make a knife. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to become more and more, I don't know, man, just, in other words, it's going to take a lot for production companies to wow us now with their offerings than it used to, because we are now becoming a society that knows a lot more about knives than we used to. So back to these two here. Yeah, I mean, Chris Reeve in 1978, when he came and made his knife company and made the Sebenza 21 and started to come out into the fold, he kind of just defined only what he believed was really a good working tool. And he really did accomplish that. He's gotten to the point now where he's so iconic. Everybody knows that none of his knives can really compare with any production knife. However, like I said, that's why I brought this knife out. This is probably the only knife that even compares to this one, because even though they don't look the same aesthetically, the attention to detail competes with this knife. The Spyderco Slysz Bowie competes on this knife. Like I said, if you want to check out that video that I did 4 years ago, I will pop in a link on that one, and you guys can see how the detail of this knife, the attention to detail on this knife can compare to the attention of detail put on this one. And why this knife no longer exists as a result. These both knives here, they have the same action. I hate to say that, but the action on both of these are the same. This one, however, the action was done intentionally. If you open up the Chris Reeve knife, you'll see his washers, okay, that he has inside the pivot of his knife. His washers actually have little circular holes around the washers to put lubricant inside of it, which gives it that sort of hydraulic feel. Okay? With the Spyderco Slysz Bowie, I don't know how they accomplished it, but the feeling does feel the same. You've got that same hydraulic smoothness, but there's just regular phosphor bronze washers. They didn't do anything special to it to create that feeling. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I think I just brought these two knives out to bring my point, which is we've come to a point where, you know, these two knives made an impact, and it just seems like the impact of knife making will never, ever be as high in the production world again as it ever did with these two that you see here in front of you, Spyderco Slysz Bowie and the Sebenza 21. Everything that comes after these knives seem to be less and less and less wowing by the production world, not by guys like Robert Littard, like this guy who's a nobody knife maker like this guy, because people like this are probably going to wind up overtaking. That's my point, overtaking the production world in a way where what's going to happen is we're going to come across maybe 1 or 2 or 3 makers in the world that are of guys that are making knives. They're going to come up with an invention that's just going to start the whole thing rolling all over again. So I don't think we're going to rely on the next big thing from the production world. I think you're going to rely on the next big thing from just the regular knife making world. Guys like this guy, who were ironically influenced by production companies like Spyderco, and of course, obviously the Chris Reeve. Sebenza's made a big influence on people who not only collect knives but make knives, and I think that's the whole point of this video. Just me rambling on. So anyway, that's it for this video. It was a discussion video to see how much of an impact certain knives make. Somewhere along the way, these two knives came in, and they sort of set the stage for what was to come in the future. Because if you go on Instagram right now and you just punch in knives, you're going to see all kinds of different knives, maybe with some really weird mechanisms, and you can't help but think that this guy, Chris Reeve, and the production of the Spyderco Slysz Bowie had a hand in that happening. And I think that's the point. Because without these two knives, probably in a small way, this knife probably wouldn't even be in my hand right now. Just a thought. Just a thought. We're now becoming a society of not, that society of people who buy, collect, and make knives is starting to blur a lot. But there'll still be guys like myself that will never, ever make a knife because we don't have the talent for it. But, still, the hobby's going to be fun. The hobby's going to be here. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm kind of excited to see in the future what's going to happen with this hobby. But I don't see it going away anytime soon. I think my point of this video is I think knives are just going to continue to evolve. But again, I don't think we'll see the next big thing from a production world. I think we're going to see the next big thing from an individual, which I think is kind of cool. So that's it for this video. I hope I didn't ramble on and on and on. Maybe you got something out of this video, maybe you didn't. But again, it was just an opinion video. I always kind of like to have my own thoughts about knives. I mean, I own way over 50 of them, so I think I have a right to express my own opinion. So that's it for this video. You guys have a happy Easter, and I will see you guys in the next video next week. I do have some new knives that are coming. Right now we're kind of just laying back and trying not so much to buy knives, but just, trying to chill. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and you guys have a great evening.